Hello trainers, Ganeto here, and today we are diving together into Evolution Cup with a lot of action by 4 teams in total so that you can have a better understanding of the meta, what to use, what you are afraid of, and of course how you can rise on that Golbat League elo. For the first team showcase, out of the total 4, we're gonna have a Vigoroth upon the lead, at the back the Golbat, and that Dusclops. Every single team that I'm gonna showcase here is gonna have a plan around Vigoroth, and that is because mainly Vigoroth is gonna be one of the best Pokemon that you can use for the meta. Of course, you're gonna use it on the first team showcase because it is gonna be the top 1 Pokemon overall, able to go pretty neutrally even against a ghost type Pokemon, which is pretty neat, and of course you can survive pretty much anything in the meta. So at the back we're gonna have the Golbat as our safe switch, mainly because of its ability to debuff the opponent with those poison fangs, while Shadow Ball can be used for coverage, and Golbat is gonna be the number 2 I believe for this cap. As a closer, I have decided to add here Dusclops, and if you have a Shadow one, well, that's gonna work pretty much towards your advantage, because then you can even pressure even more with your moves, or just go with a Poltergeist like I do over here for the total nuke against the enemy, and of course the turnaround of events. You really want to have Ice Punch as your first fast attack, charge attack, excuse me, and as your second you can always choose between Shadow Punch or Poltergeist. I recommend Poltergeist if you want to play this Pokemon as a closer. I recommend Shadow Punch if you want to play this Pokemon as a safe switch. Core breaker of this line, none other than Charjabug, because it can resist the counters from the Vigoroth, while at the back it has Crunch for the ghost types and Discharge for the Golbat. Now we have a line that can do a lot of work with its charge attacks. Up on the lead though, we're gonna have Hakamo-O, which is gonna rely a lot on those Dragon Tails, while with the Dragon Claws you can still spam your way to victory with heavy hitting moves, because kinda everything is gonna be glassy here other than the Chansey. With that in mind, you also have coverage with that Brick Break against normal type Pokemon like Chansey, or something like a Vigoroth your opponent might have. At the back, I'm pretty excited to use my Shadow Silo with a Shadow Magneton, because those two are gonna be able to one-shot down a lot of things in the meta. If you do not have those two as a Shadow, well, feel free to use them as the regular forms, because still they can provide so much pressure on the enemy that they cannot handle it, while the non-Shadow versions will make those two kinda less glacier, which is pretty neat on certain situations, especially towards the end of the game and against a Pokemon something like a Machoke or a Vigoroth, which you can survive a little bit longer. As a core breaker here, we're not gonna have the Vigoroth but instead the Machoke, because it is just gonna choke a lot of HP out of the total from our teams, the individual picks here, because of its ability to get there to the moves with the Karate Chop super fast, while Return has the possibility to one-shot down even the whole Silo out of existence. This team is looking pretty strong, and that's why I'm recommending it to you. Houndour is a Pokemon that I like a lot for the meta, especially with its ability to wall down certain key meta-relevant Pokemon, something like a Golbat, something like a Vigoroth, so you can see as to how this Pokemon can excel as a code breaker for the Evolution Cup. I like its Ice Punch since now it gives it more coverage against the Flyers, while you can use something like a Sludge Bomb in combination with your typing in order to destroy down Vigoroth. Both Ghosts and Poisons are gonna resist the counters, while that Sludge Bomb can still connect for big damage on the Vigoroth, perhaps the one shot with the combination with a little bit of help by your Shadow Claws. With that in mind, at the back we got the Zweilous and the Piloswine, 2 Pokemon that are kinda weak to those fighting moves, but still with your Houndour and your proper rotation to your Zweilous, you can draw out that Vigoroth, farm down with your Houndour, and of course get out of there with a lot of energy to take those shields out of the way, while your Piloswine is gonna be on the extreme scenario to finish off the enemy, and of course the nukes back to back with the avalanches. And as a core breaker here we got the Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl is gonna be able to destroy down the Houndour with those Mud Bombs, while Scald can be pretty handy against that Piloswine. However, you still got Zweilous, and I don't think you're gonna see a lot of Poliwhirls other than mine into the meta. And of course course, with that in mind, yeah, you're gonna struggle a little bit against Chansey, but every team is gonna do it, so I'm not gonna just go with a Core Breaker on the Chansey. Chansey is gonna be a horrible pick overall that I'm gonna talk about in the next team showcase towards the end of the video. Into the final one, and I really like the balance between the individual picks for this team showcase number 4, because we're having the Dragon Breath user up on the lead, the Dragonair, and if you have a sad one, because I do not, with good IVs at least, feel free to use it, because those Dragon Breaths are just gonna shred apart the enemy, and if you can have the shields towards your advantage, well, this thing is unstoppable. The only thing that can stop it is gonna be the Lairon, and perhaps something like a Brionne. This Pokemon is gonna be our closer as well, so it is gonna rely a lot on Charm. However, it is gonna be a fairy type Pokemon, which means that those dragon moves are still gonna hurt a lot. At the back, besides that Brionne of ours, which is a pretty straightforward Pokemon like a pure Charmer, we're gonna have the Charjabug. So about this one, you might want to consider using something like an X-Scissor if you want to excel against your dark type opponents, especially something like its Vilus, while Discharge is gonna give you coverage against Golbat, and of course with Crunch you can get coverage against ghost types. We saw before that Charjabug could be used as a soft Core Breaker about a very strong team that we showcased on the team number 1, I believe, so yeah, this Pokemon is definitely a safe pick overall and a complete devastating one for certain teams. Lairon can come in pretty handy against this line with its steel typing, but other than that I believe you're gonna be just fine. So this cap is looking pretty promising, I like it a lot. However, like the previous time we had around, Chansey was dominating the meta most of the times with all those times up. I really hope that Niantic could have banned that Chansey out of the way, otherwise we're gonna look at a very stale meta, and to be honest I believe that Great League is gonna be my main way to go for these days of Go Battle League this rotation. So that's gonna be a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all into the next one. Thank you for watching, trainers. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and if you want to support even more, well, joining as a member can always help with that matter. Thank you once again, and I hope to see you all into the next one. Take care, trainers.